So we kind of gave a lot of love to DC on the last podcast. So I figured we might as well do this one about Marvel. It's not going to be exactly about Marvel comics. We're switching it up a bit. Uh, we talked early on this week about how one of the Marvel movies wasn't as much your favorite as other Marvel movies. You'll get into that, I suppose, later on. But that kind of gave me an idea that the subject should be this: Is this is the question at hand? Is Marvel kind of winding down? I mean, there's still massive commercial hits, but and people do still love the movies. But is it toning down? Is there something going on that maybe it's not getting you all that excited? I want to hear your take on it now. Kind of briefly, this is mine. An example: Civil War. Civil War for me was a great movie. I loved it. It was fun. It was the story was pretty good. We could go into a lot of details, but that would take probably a lot of time. But there is one thing I did notice: a lot of the things I liked were fan service, meaning that the movie was more enjoyable because they kind of know what the fans want and they gave it to you. I mean, you want to see Spider-Man fighting Falcon. You want to see Hawkeye shooting Ant-Man from the arrow. I mean, just that scene in the airport alone, that that scene was just for geeks to orgasm. That was all it was meant to do. So, but does that make it a good movie? Does that mean that they're being creative? They're doing, definitely Civil War was no Winter Soldier. Again, it's a good story. I liked it. It's got its twists and turns, and the plot is good. The acting is great, but it's not Winter Soldier. I mean, Winter Soldier, you can just take off all the masks and nobody has superpowers, and it's still a damn good spy drama movie. So is that kind of what's going on? Are they concentrating a little bit more on giving fan service? Now, another point I want to bring up is that when Ant Man, which is one of the lesser commercially successful Marvel movies, when Ant Man came out, even though again liked it, I got it, I understood that it's a comedy, it's a heist comedy, and that makes it enjoyable if you understand that. A lot of people criticized it because it wasn't maybe as dramatic or as maybe as deep as the other movies, if you can call any other movies deep. But I think you know what I'm saying. Well, when Ant Man came out, there was this whole hype where people kept asking me, since I seem to be the general geek of the group. I don't know. People kept asking me, so what's Ant Man's story? And I went into this whole almost rehearsed, at the end, it was almost rehearsed speech of how he became the Yellow Jacket, and how he had some inner demons he had to overcome. Well, whatever, it doesn't really matter. The thing is, everybody was asking, they were interested in the character. I mean, they knew kind of a little bit about him, but they were more interested in getting to know the character before the movie came out. Now, flash forward to today. There's a Doctor Strange movie coming out, and nobody seems to care. I mean, everybody wants to see it. If you mention it, everybody goes like, "Yeah, yeah, I want to see it. Marvel, they rock and all that." But nobody seems to want to know anything about the characters because they're over it. They know they're going to see a good movie. They're going to know they're going to enjoy it, but they don't really have to spend time trying to figure out what's going to happen, what's important. At least that on my circle of friends, nobody's really cared. Everybody's just like, okay, I know the date. Let's go see it. It's fun. It's probably going to be fun. But no, there's no interest to it. So, is there a difference between what was going on maybe 2 years ago as to what was going on now? Another thing that I think that's holding them back from being as interesting as they used to be is that the universe is just getting too big. A lot of characters, too much to maybe too many stories to handle, and yeah, up to now it's fun, but there's going to be a point where a random character is going to pop up from a movie you haven't seen, and you're supposed to have seen it, and if you don't, it's going to be complicated, and if there's no more, if the movie doesn't explain it well, you're going to be like a little, I don't know. It seems that the future, which is another thing I would like to touch on, the future may be a little difficult for Marvel. It may be getting complicated, which brings me to my next point that maybe they should start knocking off characters, which is something I'm going to talk about on the next reply. So, what do you think?
I think you will summarize. You've summarized everything I feel about the Marvel cinematic universe itself, and even the TV universe with the words commercial hit and fan service. And I'll make a little bit of a connection to what the TV universe and even their actors and their creators have said about it. Um, I think that, the first thing I have to say is I'm not a Marvel fan. I read them. I do read them. I read more DC. I've always read more DC than Marvel. They honestly never interested me. I used to watch the X-Men cartoons, and that was pretty much it. I think I did see like Spider-Man when it was like back in like the 80s. But that I honestly never really liked Marvel in general. I have a hard time reading Marvel. I really like the Hulk, and I really um, enjoy the X-Men. But that's pretty much it. I don't I don't like reading anything else. And that's not even say the X-Men. It's just Wolverine. I don't like anybody else. And after the death of Wolverine, I literally stopped reading everything else. Like nothing else mattered to me. There's too many characters. There's way too many things happening, and it's kind of pointless. And that connects with what you said at the end. Like some people just should start being killed off because it's getting a little bit ridiculous. But let's start with like all Marvel films. Before when it was Universal Studios, 20th Century Fox, New Line Cinema, Columbia Pictures, like all these people bought these rights. Great thing for Marvel Studios to consolidate their studio and work things out. Um, but there were good decisions made before and bad decisions made before, just like there have been good decisions now and bad decisions now. So I don't really think that Marvel Studios gets all the credit. Like if you go back to the very, 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 very first Marvel Cinematic Universe ever created was Howard the Duck, and that's a great movie. Still today, mid 80s, Howard the Duck was amazing. It was fun. The first Punisher was also pretty cool as well. Then they kind of sucked for a long time. But if you really think about it, when people think Marvel, they think like Iron Man was the beginning. So for them, it's the idea of Iron Man. And it's because that was when Marvel Studios like was created and that was their first baby. But you can't forget about Blade. Blade was awesome. Blade 1, 2, and 3 were cool. They weren't perfect films, but they were fun. They were real. Like Wesley Snipes really portrayed Blade how he needed to play Blade. Everybody else, all the extra characters were cool. The baddies were cool. I mean, the fight scenes were amazing. It was still funny and dark, and it was just awesome. I'm shocked that people forget. You know, it's like when Deadpool came out, they were like, "Oh, it's the first R-rated comic book hero movie." No, Blade. Blade was the first R-rated comic book hero movie. White privilege? I don't know. You talk about that. But then X-Men 1 was amazing. Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2. Sorry, X-Men 1, X2, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2. I loved. I mean, the scene of Spider-Man 2 when he saves that subway train that's about to derail because Doc Ock is like fighting him and he like passes out and like I know it's like kind of like a semi-emotional thing, but like the everybody carries him and his mask is off and they put on his mask and they're like, "Don't worry, we're never gonna tell who it is." Like that's a cool scene. Hulk was bad. Incredible Hulk was not that bad. The villain was bad, but Edward Norton was pretty cool. Um, and then, to be quite honest, it kind of all went to crap. Like everything else was bad. Ghost Rider was bad. Fantastic Four was bad. One and two. Like Silver Surfer was a great character to like completely have destroyed him. X-Men Last Stand was horrible, 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 horrible. Um, I know I said Ghost Rider, but again, Ghost Rider was really bad. Daredevil, Elektra, crap, crap, crap. for a bunch of time. Then Marvel Studios came out, and I thought it was going to be great. I liked the Incredible Hulk. That was Marvel Studios. I liked Iron Man. That was Marvel Studios. Um, then they still didn't get X-Men back, remember? So they had 20th Century Fox, and it was like Wolverine. Remember Cuckoo? God, we hated when that one came out. Iron Man 2 was still okay. Thor was boring. First Class was great. Captain America First Avenger, bore fest. Horrible. Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, terrible. Avengers came out, and then it finally was like great. Like that was cool. The Amazing Spider-Man. I know you're thinking, well, that's not Marvel Studios, but still, it's a cinematic universe. They're all connected, and they have to fix it. I liked the Amazing Spider-Man. I thought it was good, And this was obviously the new guy, Garfield, because the third Tobey Maguire movie was terrible. The Wolverine, still not good. Thor: Dark World, still not good. Iron Man 3, horrible, horrible. Like it just kept on getting worse. The only thing that was getting better was X-Men. That was the only thing that was getting better. And notice it still wasn't Marvel Studios. That was still 20th Century Fox. So Days of Future Past was really good. X-Men Apocalypse, horrible. Uh, I'd say the only things that make any sense to me were Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man and Deadpool. And those were three that weren't even the famous people. So I think that's why I liked them so much, because I thought they were good. They were funny. They were good characters. It was something different and strange. But notice, I knew who those people were. I knew people who went just because of what you said. Oh, it's Marvel. It's got to be good. They're getting used to the fact that it's going to be something like that. That it's going to be fan service, fan service, fan service, fan service, fan service, fight scene, comic relief, fight scene, comic relief, sad moment, fight scene, comic relief, end credits to keep you going. That's literally every Marvel movie explained in less than 10 vocabulary words. Um, I've not liked anything really since the first ones. Uh, I thought Age of Ultron was really bad. Like I didn't like it. I mean, it was an Avenger movie, great, but honestly, the only thing I enjoy about Avenger movies are Thor and Hulk. I don't like Iron Man. I think Robert Downey Jr. by this time has just kind of overplayed his part. Captain America's great, but Hawkeye's wonderful. But Jesus, they're like adding all these people that you're like, who are these people? I mean, Vision. I didn't even know who Vision was. I remember seeing Vision before. Why would they bring Vision? Civil War, I did not like Civil War. It was a good flick to watch. I wouldn't own it. I wouldn't rewatch it. I wouldn't even recommend it. It just wasn't fun. It was just like a regular movie with a bunch of stuff happening, trying to keep the fans happy. And that's literally all it was, trying to keep the fans happy. It wasn't anything interesting. Doctor Strange is coming out, and he's a great character. I know very little of him. I read the Marvel the ending of their universe. The universes colliding. That's the only time that I ever saw Doctor Strange as somebody like really really cool. The comic version of what happens afterwards is great. But I think they've failed to use some of their best characters. Like when you read the comics, the Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom, Doctor Strange, those are strong characters in the comics, in their comic universe, and they're not in their movies. I know we haven't seen Doctor Strange yet, but I bet it's not going to be. They're not going to build on the coolness of the factors. They're trying to make you just give you eye candy, They've forgotten about their TV universe, which is really good. They let Agent Carter get canceled, which was a good show. Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a great show by itself, but they don't pay attention to them. The Inhumans are awesome. but they're not even like throwing them in there. It's like they're just trying to keep people happy by giving you a bunch of little things. And everything that happens on Netflix doesn't really correlate a lot to what happens on the in the cinematic universe. Like they're like trying to throw these like I know they're trying like they're just I feel like they're just trying to earn a lot of money. And that's pretty much all it feels like. Jessica Jones was great. Luke Cage will probably be really good. Fist of Fury, don't understand why Fist of Fury is not an Asian guy. We'll figure it out. Um, Daredevil is great, but I don't understand if he's going to be in the universe or not be in the universe. I'm confused. I don't even know why they don't interact with each other. Like, why didn't Daredevil make a freaking cameo in Jessica Jones? They literally live in the same neighborhood, not even the same city. Because you might say, oh, New York City is pretty big. Yes, but in New York City, they live in the same neighborhood and they don't see each other. They even go to the same doctor and they don't see each other. That's a little bit ridiculous on their end. Um, so I can rant forever about the things that I don't like about Marvel because they've lost their way. They're earning money, they're franchising out, they're becoming commercial successes. They're not worried about the storyline. They're not worried about what happened in the comics, what happens in the comics, and I don't think they're caring about the people who love the comics, which is the complete opposite about DC. Because a person who loves the DC comics and watches the movies goes, yeah, that happened in the comics, which, unfortunately, is not what people want to see in a movie. And we can clearly see that with the difference between DC and Marvel movies. Um, I don't know. I mean, what's your take? Which of the movies do you think were truly bad, and which were the ones you thought were great um, as storyline? So if these were in superhero movies, would these actually be able to get an Oscar? Like, think about that. Like, which of these could compare to which could these could be an Oscar contender? I think the only one I could say that the storyline, the character, the production, the music, the scenery was good enough was Winter Soldier. That's it. No other Marvel movie can be really considered a good movie as opposed to just eye candy.
So I just spent 13 freaking minutes talking into the recorder to send